This is another thing that I really love about the system. TWIM is like a joy to use. I was actually quite surprised how straightforward the guided setup was. I decided to finally upgrade my camera tracking system. And I decided to do that from a couple of reasons. Now, don't get me wrong, the anti-latency system is combined with the easy track, still a pretty great solution. But I recently started looking for a more robust solution. What do I mean by robust solution? Well, some of the lower end products out there, including, for example, anti-latency. One of the benefits of the anti-latency is that the tracker camera is this tiny, tiny camera puck here. You see this, there's this encasing which is black, but that's just in encasing so you can connect it. The actual camera is this tiny thing that it's a module that you can take out and you can attach it to anything and track objects and talent and things like that. And so from that perspective, from a size perspective, it's great. We actually shot a whole phone camera, handheld, green screen virtual production demo project in here, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without the anti-latency system. In the perfect conditions, studio conditions, you get really good tracking, perspective, everything. Unfortunately, it seems like in our studio we have some sort of frequency interference because I'm getting quite a bit of noise in the signal here. So there's something in this studio that's causing the camera to basically have a bit of troubles, because it's an infrared camera, right? To have a bit of trouble in seeing the green lights, which are the infrared trackers on top. What does that translate to? That noise translates into slight variation shifts in the one or more of the axis, tracking axis. In our scenario, it's more on the roll axis. So basically, anti-latency calculation think that the camera is moving, is rolling a bit because of the noise interference that's happening with the infrared tracker there. Then what happens is you're getting this vibration in the background because the tracker sends information that there is movement in the camera, in the tracker, although there's no movement. And what does that mean? It means that when you're compositing the foreground with the background is static because the camera's not moving, but the background has a bit of jitter. With systems like this, and most systems, you have ways to rectify that, filtering out certain range of vibration and movement. But that filtering introduces other artifacts. And the other bit is a system like this, comprised of two components, which is the easy track and also the anti-latency. Because they're new and not that established, they don't have a vast library of resources. With Red Spy, with Moses, because they've been around for a while, and there's so many studios out there using them, they built a portfolio of setups, of profiles, of lens calibrations, and so on, which means that you find what you need a lot easier. Like I'm able to find in the Red Spy system, I'm able to find the Fujinon and the Red V Raptor as a combo, as a sensor lens combo. And that means that I don't have to spend a lot of time calibrating lenses. When I was looking for higher end setups, I was looking for a couple of things. One, not to get these vibrations in the background and have interference. And two, something that will give me very accurate tracking, as in the one other challenge that I had with the anti-latency and easy track system was I was seeing some of those movements, slight deviation on where the foreground touches the background. And then it's also faster movements, because with this, it doesn't seem to keep up that well with rapid movements, where I'm able to do a lot better movements with the Red Spy unit. I have the full unit, the big one, that includes also a processing server. The one important feature that these more expensive optical trackers have that the cheaper ones like the anti-latency don't is, apart from the infrared optical tracking mechanism that they also have gyro inside. So it helps when you do get noise and interference in the optical tracker. There's gyro data that helps iron out some of those, let's say, inconsistencies when it comes to those movements. So it's always good to have like a backup, I would say, position mechanism in order to calculate what's the real position. If one of them shows jitter, the other one can make up for that. Whereas in something like this, which is like a tiny, the size of my nail, you can't really fit a gyro in there. That's pretty much the reason why I wanted to do the upgrade, for better, more optimal and accurate tracking, and also have the flexibility, because with the anti-latency system, you usually have a fixed setup, right? So you install the tiles on the ceiling or on the floor, or if you have trusses, light trusses, you get these light truss bars, and yeah, you can take them down, the light truss bars, you can install it in other trusses. But if you go in a studio that doesn't have a light truss, then what are you gonna do? So it's not that flexible. Whereas the Red Spy and Moses, both systems allow you to use the camera anywhere with ease. And I say ease, you basically need to install the stickers, the infrared dots wherever you are. So if you're going to a new building, a new room, you just install the new stickers, and then you need to do the detection of the infrared trackers and the calibration and everything. But because we're starting to also have projects that require a bigger stage than ours, and we're going on location, we needed something that we can use with ease on location as well as in the studio. I'm going to tell you exactly what we got from Stipe, because we went with Stipe Red Spy. Our kit included the Red Spy camera, the processing unit, because we got the flagship product. So we have a separate tracking processing unit server that's installed in a server rack for us. You can get encoders as well, and these encoders connect to the back of the Red Spy camera. And this is another thing that I really love about the system, is there's only one single cable, Ethernet cable, that goes out of the camera and goes all the way in the back in the other room where we have the processing unit for the Red Spy. Whereas, for example, say the Easy Track, there's quite a lot of cables. I think there's 3 or 4 cables that are coming out of the Easy Track hub. This hub here, right? So this is quite chunky. It's kind of like the same thing that we have for the Red Spy, the actual processing unit, because that is a processing unit. And why is that? Why do you need to have this close by? The encoders, because this has encoders as well, the encoder cables plug into the processing unit. So that means these cables are of a certain length. So that means that you can't really make it very long, because you'd have to figure out a solution for these encoders cables. Whereas for the Red Spy, the encoders that are on this side actually go straight into the Red Spy camera, and then there's one wire that's going up. The other thing, you get a screen, of course, a monitor that's also touch screen that allows you to use the software interface. In the box, you also find the stickers. Now, with the stickers, the infrared stickers that you put on your ceiling, when you do the order, they'll ask you information about your studio, mainly the height to the ceiling or the area that you want to place your stickers on, just so that they send you the right stickers. So there's a variety of sizes of the stickers. The bigger the sticker means of course, the higher your ceilings are. We also got the TWIM software. We got a license for that. And it also came with its own kit box with the markers, stands, and everything else. That's a license that you pay per year. You don't necessarily need to have the TWIM license. You can calibrate in the Red Spy software on the processing unit as well. You can create profiles of your lenses and calibrate, but it's a more arduous process versus using TWIM. TWIM is like a a joy to use. Like a kid can use it as well. It's like this Pac-Man like interface where in order to calibrate your lens, you just need to position the camera at various angles and various focal lengths and so on, and basically overlap with some dots on the screen in order to get it calibrated. And it's quite accurate and it's very easy to set up and use. We got it because we have a lot of shoots here. We'll have a variety of lenses that we need to calibrate. And actually, there's another thing that we got, which I would say is not super related to the tracking, but it is for me. But you definitely don't need it if you have a decent enough computer at home. But we got a Stipe workstation from them. They usually put together workstations that are optimal for their tracking system. So we got a workstation that's rack mountable. We mount it in one of our boxes. In terms of specs, there's a 5090 in there. There's also a Threadripper CPU. So there's a deck link. So everything was set up and installed. And when they shipped it to me, I only needed to install Unreal Engine and basically start. Now, the thing that surprised me with the 5090, the Stipe workstation and the Threadripper, was that we recently had a shoot and I was able to record, to output up to 3 4K backgrounds from 3 different Cine cameras. And it handled it like a champ, running at 30 FPS. So basically had 3 4K camera outputs plus the viewport and was getting 30 frames. So it is a beast of a workstation. But yeah, we got that as well because anyways, I wanted to upgrade. I wanted to build a system that works really well with the whole high-end setup that we've done. For a very powerful and complex system like this, I was actually quite surprised how straightforward the guided setup was. You start, of course, by installing your stickers, your tracking stickers on the ceiling. You have to install them quite spread across, and also make sure that they're not in a pattern because it will confuse the camera tracking if it detects the same pattern in multiple locations, if you know what I mean, because it gets confused because it's like, well, this pattern was here. Did the camera just moved in a different position? So it has to be very random how you put them. After you place the tracker, second step is to basically have the camera recognize the pattern of the infrared dots. This is where the software tutorial and walkthrough for the setup starts. Once you start the software, it asks you if you want to do a quick tutorial or load an existing profile. You go to a quick tutorial and you have animated videos that show you exactly how to go about doing this. So you'll be standing in the middle and then moving forward, moving parallel, and basically going from the middle to the edge of your studio until you basically uncover the entire pattern. I'm not going to go through all of the steps, but there's additional steps. You have to measure like what, let's say, 5 meters is. So you put the tracker on one side, mark it there, mark it in the software, and then you put it on the other side, measure 5 meters, mark, and then you go into the software and you say, okay, so this was 5 meters. And then there's additional steps like the setting the 0 point. With the Easy Track and Antillatency, I've never had to set 0 point. I'm new to virtual production, and when I set up the previous system, I didn't need to do that. So I didn't even get into the whole concept of 0 point in the space. So I had to set that up as well. But again, as novice as I am to all of this, having a guided setup is quite critical because I found all of the steps straightforward and I understood the concepts per each step and so on. You also need to, like with most systems, need to measure the distance from the camera to the sensor. With that, you get the lens focal length, and it's very important, one, to have dead accurate tracker to sensor relative position, as well as the lens calibration and how good that is, in order to get that super accurate perspective and have everything move in the same way. Once we've finished with most of those steps, the next step was to install the camera tracker on the actual camera. Now, the Red Spy box comes with some of the mounting plates, a variety of mounting options. So I use one of those plates and I've mounted on the actual Ronin. But then I quickly realized, hold on a second, if I install it on the Ronin there in that specific position, if I want to use the camera, let's say on a slider or handheld without the Ronin, then I basically need to take the Red Spy camera, position it somewhere else on the actual camera, and then redo the measuring. So I thought to myself, why not just install it straight on the Red camera? So that's what we came up with. With the Red Spy, I really like the fact that on the bottom of the camera, there's a specific square pattern. And then all of these mounting threads and plates that they have basically have that pattern. That means that you can have some of these plates on multiple of your rigs. And then instead of taking the plate out, you're taking the camera out, you leave the plate there, and then you're putting it in a different position. And then if you have written down the offsets to the sensor, then you just put in those offsets and there you go. You don't have to measure every single time. Little things like this that actually make a big difference in the grand scheme of things is saving time. It's being as efficient as possible. And around saving time, again, talking about having profiles for your lenses, being able to change and swap things quickly. So that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the comfort. And comfort, not just for the sake of laziness, right? It's not laziness. It's the fact that you get more stuff done in a day of shoot or prep than you would otherwise having to tweak a bunch of things.